May 26, 2013. This is Advanced Lesson number 10. Greeting Bridge fans, Michael here at Bridge Hands, and welcome to our next lesson. We have something different in this episode. We are going to be talking about the entire 2/1 system. So over the next 5 segments of this episode, we will learn the basics of the 2/1 system. Now here in part 1, we'll start off with the reasons why this bidding approach became so popular with aspiring bridge players, its benefits, and the basic principles of the 2/1 system, including some helpful tips. Then in part 2, we'll bid several hands to illustrate the standard American shortcomings compared to the 2/1 system when bidding games or slams. Of course, with any system, it is imperative to know when bids are forcing, and in part 3, I will differentiate forcing bids from non-forcing bids and address some of the perceived shortcomings before we bid some more hands to address concerns for the curious of you out there in the audience. Finally, in part 4 and part 5, we'll spend a fair amount of time practicing bids with the somewhat mysterious bidding tool, the forcing one no trump response. So if you already have more than a nodding acquaintance with the 2/1 system, well then feel free to go ahead, jump ahead into the segment here, or go ahead into parts 2 through 5 of this episode. Now, with any system, once we sit down at the table, bridge bidding can sometimes feel like we are navigating uncharted territory. Well, would you believe there are 53 times 10 to the 27th power of possible hands that can be dealt in bridge? 53 with 6 zeros would be 53 million. So 53 with 27 zeros would be really big number that would be hard to imagine. Well, no wonder there are so many wonderful ideas on how to bid all these excellent combinations of hands. The good news is that when you pick up your 13 cards, there are only 635 billion combinations of hands you may hold. Seriously though, when we play a system like Standard American or the 2/1 system that we will be discussing in this series of Bridge Hands episodes, once we incorporate the basic requirements of what becomes eligible for a 2/1 bid, you will improve your accuracy bidding games, slams, and know when to use the force. The forcing one no trump, that is. And not to worry, I will highlight the forcing no trump in each of our video segments, so everyone will be up to speed with our new gadget by the time we get really deep into the bidding in exercises in part 4 and 5 of this system. And once we learn to harness the energy of the forcing one no trump call, you will appreciate its versatility to help us find the best possible part score contract. So, going back to the early days of bridge with the legendary players Eli Culberson and Charles Gorin, everyone opened naturally with 4-card or longer suits, minors, or the majors. Now, life seemed fine and dandy up to the 1950s when the Americans played in international competition, the Bermuda Bowl, where they represented USA and found their bidding system was, well, substandard. Then in the 1950s, Alvin Roth noted that the winning Italian blue team was playing a new, strong one-club system. When the Italians opened with an artificial one-club bid, it showed 16 plus points. Said nothing about clubs. Better yet, when partner made a positive game-going response with 8 or more points, the pair could use elegant, low-level forcing bids to further describe their hand at these low levels to find the best game, without fear of partner passing out the auction. Of course, you know what else, don't you? The icing of the cake was accurately exploring makeable slam contracts to rack up even more points with precise bidding. And speaking of precise bidding, well, we have some precision books here. The first being Precision Bidding in Bridge, CCY, edited by Alan Truscott. Aha, very precise. Next up, we have Matchpoint Precision, CCY, with Ron Anderson. And oh, by the way, there was a Schenken Big Club that came around earlier than these. The Precision One Club Complete with CC's wife, Catherine Y., and Judy Radin. And Charles Gorin, not to be left out of this, in the 1950s, 60s, he came up with precision system of contract bridge systems. Well, how about that, Charles? Good for you. And more likely in the current days, we see things such as Precision Today, appropriately named by David Berkowitz and Brett Manley. Later on, we'll take a look at some of the 2/1 books as well. So after Alvin Roth and playing partner Tobias Stone got to work and developed a comprehensive system which employed a new gadget, the Forcing One No Trump bid by responder. It would be used to describe catch-all bids to describe hands with less than game values after partner initially opened one heart or one spade by an unpassed hand. Well, during this time, while the Western United States continued to play the Gorin 4-card major system for an opening bid, many in the East Coast began playing a 5-card major opening bids, then known as the Eastern Scientific System. And progressing to the 1970s, these factors led up to the 5-card Western style that incorporated, you know what? Yes, the Forcing One No Trump call in response to partner's 5 or longer card major suit opener, also known as the Western Scientific System, or what else? Yes, the 2/1 system designed by Richard Walsh, along with playing partners John Swanson and Paul Soloway. Now, as an aside, Max Hardy also played the system with Rhoda Walsh, writing an initial book on 2/1 that was later followed up with dozens more he authored along with publisher Mike Lawrence and others. We can see some of the books here. First off, in the early days, it was the 2/1 Game Force, expanded and revised by Max Hardy. Yes, the late Max Hardy. Other of his more recent books were Standard Bridge Bidding for the 21st Century. Of course, that would be a 2/1 approach. And he had some more, such as Advanced Bridge, which had advanced bids to go with the system. And in that era, a little bit before, Mike Lawrence had his workbook for the 2/1 system. Much the same, but with some significant variances we'll talk about later. And Paul Thurston for Masterpoint Press, Bridge 25 Steps to Learning 2/1, popular series. And Dee Barry had one, nice, concise, and sure enough called 2/1 in a Nutshell. And more recently, we've had one by Audrey Grant and Eric Rodwell. What? Eric Rodwell, doesn't he play a version of the Strong One Club? Yes, he does, but this is a popular series for us mortals, so he and Audrey Grant came up with 2/1 Game Force. How about that? So you can see there's a lot of different books written on this, and with that, as you might expect, there are a lot of styles out there, and later on we will highlight some of the nuances that leading 2/1 authors and top players advocate in their systems, but more on that later. Okay, back to the 2/1 system. The key elements of this new method was that after a one heart or one spade opening bid by an unpassed hand, responders' two-level bid in a new suit at the lower level was, is, and always will be forcing to game. Now how about that? Just like the Italian Blue Club team and their precision players, starting with a positive bid and a positive response, a 2/1 response is game forcing. Recall that in order to address hands without a fit and a minimum of 6 to 9 points, as well as medium invitational hands with 9 to 12 points, or good 11, they use the Forcing One No Trump bid as a catch-all system. This way, when opener makes a 2-level suit rebid in that lower ranking suit, the responder could go ahead and make a further description on rebids to find game and, yes, explore those slams. Well, okay, from a high level, let's compare the common standard American system to the 2/1 system. In standard American, after opening one heart or one spade bid by an unpassed hand, and responder makes a 2-level bid in a lower ranking suit, it shows 10 or more points and is forcing one round. Compare that to our 2/1 methods where most 2/1 players, the bid is game forcing. Now, in a moment I will discuss some of the caveats and contrasting responders' one no trump bid after an unpassed hand by partner, open in a major, playing standard American, the call shows 6 to 9 points, or maybe a bad 10 points and is tended as a sign-off bid, where in the 2/1 system, after one heart or one spade, one no trump by responder, the call could show as low as a good 5 points, all the way up to 12 points or so. Again, more for those who deviate playing non-standard methods. So, in the 2/1 system, responder's one no trump bid forces the opener to rebid, assuming no interference. Well, okay, to address my hedging, and no surprises here, not everyone has exactly the same ideas on methods for all 2/1 bids, as we mentioned in some of these books. So I'm a bit amused that one of the recent 2/1 bridge books starts, "The 2/1 game force is not a new bidding system. It is simply a small modification to standard bidding methods." Well, in spirit, this is nice, so certainly it does have an element of truthiness. Yet considering the bidding sequences with opening bidder, 1 diamond, and responder bidding 2 clubs. How about that? Huh? Haven't discussed that one yet. So, it is a bit surprising that even for this seemingly innocent-looking auction, opinions vary whether or not the sequence should be included in the 2/1 game-forcing genre. In fact, in Mike Lawrence's excellent 2/1 workbook, he spends 50 pages discussing this challenging sequence. Well, there you go. Well, along this line, several years ago, while interviewing Eddie Cantor on a Bridge Hands podcast, he joked with me about how he would send his Dallas Aces playing partner, Mike Lawrence, his dreaded manila envelopes with numerous pages on new partnership methods requiring, yes, lots of detailed agreements. Eventually, Mike sent Eddie a succinct outline that covered most situations in Eddie's lengthy documents. On the other hand, some years back, international bridge coach Eric Kokish sent me his 400-page detailed system notes for all the bells and whistles with tons of glorious 2/1 methods associated with each variation. And if that's not enough, would you believe that at one time, the Meckwell team maintained over 700 pages of their variation of precision bidding system before mercifully scaling back a bit? Well, back to Eric Kokish. He counsels international teams before they represent their country in Bermuda Bowl competition. Eric smartly strives to synthesize a myriad of detailed agreements into more manageable, generalized methods to ensure playing partners are on the same wavelength. For instance, regarding preemptive bids, Eric will have teammates consider a variety of hands in various seats, allowing them to quickly lock in high-level agreements. Sounds a lot like Mike Lawrence's approach versus Eddie Cantor's onslaught of his self-proclaimed rash of dreaded manila envelopes. At any rate, here I will try not to get too bogged down, but from time to time I will strive to lock in important agreements based upon various styles that are worthy to be discussed with you and your 2/1 partners. And later on I will discuss different styles where you and your partner will want to discuss some of the subtle 2/1 bidding agreements. Okay, so the bottom line is that you and your partner, time and attention to learn new methods are contingent on the effort you wish to invest and the enjoyment of taking a long or a short journey, plus your collective partnership ability to remember the nuances that occur with varying frequency. Okay? Okay. Well, obviously, if we're going to expend time and effort to learn the 2/1 system, it must have some advantages, right? Okay, here's some of the biggies for your edification, and you do not need to memorize any of these. Of course, like all good systems, the initial objective is to discover and play in an 8-card major suit fit. Otherwise, we head for no trump country unless we lack stoppers in a side suit, which would probably be a major. After entering in a 2/1 game forcing auction, perhaps bidding 1 spade, 2 clubs, or another minor, using a slow show's Fast denies approach conserves valuable bidding space, signaling partner you have extra values so the partnership can more accurately describe features of their hands, i.e. the primary honors, aces and kings, and shape. Conversely, playing standard American, it can sometimes leave players in a quandary trying to determine forcing bids and discovering length of partner's suit when heading for a 3 no trump or major suit game. On the other hand, 2/1 players enjoy conserving space to make picture bids that slowly and carefully describe the partnership's aggregate strength, an approach similar to the winning Italian blue club and precision strong one club system, without having to learn a myriad of artificial bids. Now then, the forcing 1 no trump call also permits responder to easily make a sign-off bid at the 2 level, when it is clear the partnership does not have a fit. Incidentally, in both systems that they do not start off with a 2/1 auction, a rebid of your own or partner's suit at the lowest level continues to be a sign-off bid. And in both systems, when responder jumps in partner's major suit as 1 spade, 4 spades, the game rebid remains weak, a preemptive call intended to obstruct the opponent's when responder has 5 or longer suit fit with the major and less than 2 cover cards. After responder's forcing no trump bid with 10 or 11 or a bad 12 points, responder has 3 invitational bids. Number 1, raise opener's second bid suit, also invitational in standard American system. Number 2, rebid 2 no trump. Hard to know the meaning sometimes when playing standard American whether it is a sign-off or invitational bid. Number 3, jump in a new suit after beginning in a forcing no trump call. This is a new twist for the 2/1 system, and it is game invitational. We'll get into this more shortly. Your emerging partner may have different ideas on this, though, so it's always a good idea to double check on methods. Also, a fair number of advanced players like to play responders' major suit jump rebid is forcing rather than invitational, such as 1 diamond, 1 spade, 2 clubs or 2 diamonds, 3 spades, rather than the typical invitational. Some like to play that as forcing to game with a lot of spades. As we will soon see on some example hand fragments, the 2/1 bidding system along with Q bids can improve our bidding accuracy when exploring Slam. Later in our 2/1 series, we will get into some common agreements included, but for now, I will only mention them by name. And quickly. Strong or weak jump shifts, reverses, Q bids in the opponent's suit, 4 suit forcing, new minor forcing, splinters, inverted minors, Michaels and the Western Q bid, and the unusual 2 no trump. Phew. Well, once again, when unpassed hand partner opens with 1 heart or 1 spade call, responder can make a game forcing 2-level bid in a lower ranking suit with 12 or more points. Now, in some situations, responder's suit may not be a 5-card suit, the same temporizing approach used in the standard American system. Also, like standard American, playing 2/1, we need 5 or more hearts to make a 2-heart response over partner's 1 spade opening bid, 1 spade, 2 hearts. Of course, the primary difference is that playing 2/1, responder must have a good 12 points or more to make a 2-level bid in the lower ranking suit that partner opened, since this bid is game forcing. Incidentally, I should stress that for a 2/1 game forcing auction to be on, the opener must not have previously passed. Likewise, after partner opens, the responder's right-hand opponent, that would be my left-hand opponent, must have passed for both the 2/1 system to be forcing no trump method to be on. We will get into the details shortly. Now, neither of our methods are on if an intervening double, a suit overcall, or one no trump over call was made by my left-hand opponent, your right-hand opponent. But don't worry, we'll get into this in more depth shortly. Additionally, in the 2-over-1 system, should the responder initially bid at the 2 level be in a higher ranking suit than the opener, i.e. a jump in responder suit as 1 heart, 2 spades by you. A jump in a higher level and a higher ranking suit, or when responder makes a jump at the 3 level in a lower ranking suit, such as 1 spade past 3 clubs. Now these bids require special agreements, which will vary by partnership. Now what's that you say? What do I recommend? Well, the weak jump raise is okay for advanced players when bidding 1 heart, 2 spades, since they are clear that the responder has less than 6 points. But all too often I see newer players that want weak jump shifts but make a call with 6 points or more, like 1 spade, 3 diamonds with ace-6 3 times in the suit, which is way too much to make a weak jump shift that may take 4 or 5 tricks. So, playing weak jump shift methods, responders should have no more than 1 control in the 6+ card preempt suit. So for starters, I am with Mike Lawrence in his 2-over-1 workbook recommending the more traditional strong jump shift style for the emerging players with 16 or more distributional points when bidding 1 heart, 2 spades, or 1 heart, 1 spade, 3 clubs, 3 diamonds. Well, okay. For many players, in addition to the 2-over-1 being in effect after opener bids 1 heart or 1 spade, when the opener begins 1 diamond and the responder bids 2 clubs with a good 12 points or more, the partnership is still in a game forcing contract. We talked about this early. Different strokes for different folks, and yes, that's the way I like to play it. So, neither my partner nor I are inclined to make a 2-level call, say 2 clubs or 2 diamonds, with perhaps 10 or 11 points or a bad 12 points, maybe with Jack third on a side suit, leaving the partner with a bad contract that is doomed to go down when we wind up in the inevitable 3 no-trump contract.